Township, Parsippany-Troy Hills, regular Township Council meeting, December 17, 2013.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act by filing the notice in the office of the Township Clerk and by posting the meeting notice on the bulletin board at the municipal building on December 10, 2012, where it has remained posted since that date. A legal notice appeared in both the Daily Record and on December 14, 2012, in the Star Ledger on December 13, 2012. And it was forwarded by fax to other local newspapers and local radio station on December 10, 2012. Council meetings are videotaped and air on Cablevision Public Access Channel 21 at 12 p.m. on Sundays. They're also available for viewing at www.parsippany.net.
Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Here.
Mr. DePiero.
Here.
Mr. Ferrara.
Here.
Mr. Nelson.
Here.
Council President Stanton.
Here. Also present, Mayor Barbario, Paul Cosarelli, Assistant Business Administrator, John Inglesino, Esquire, Township Attorney, Yancy Wazirmis, Township Clerk, Joseph Kowalczyk, CFO Treasurer. Please rise for a flag salute. Mr. Ferrara and Mr. Nelson, if you would. Yeah.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Upcoming meetings, January 7, 2013. It'll actually be 2014, 7:30 p.m. Reorganization agenda meeting, public invited, public participation. January 14, 2014, 7:30 p.m. Regular meeting, public invited, public participation. We have a few presentations, 2014 employee medical and dental benefits. Presentation will be done by Ryan Graham, Fairview Insurance, and Michael Atkinson, IDA.
We'll take care of it.
Okay. Thank you. First page of the PowerPoint presentation. That is a history of... Ryan Graham. Thank you. All right, first page is the loss ratio of the township over the last 5-6 years. As you can see, right now, you guys are running very well. This year, you actually came in less from a loss ratio standpoint that you did last year, which is 61%. That's considered very, very favorable. The second page is how your renewal has trended for the last 6 years. This year, we're actually expecting a very low increase of approximately 1.7%, which is well below the national trend, which is typically 12%. The next page is a comparison of how you trended from last year to this year. As you can see, last year we were expecting roughly 8.5 million, and this year we're expecting a little bit, almost 8.7 million of an increase. The next slide, that is a comparison of alternate quotes. We submitted all of our bids to the State Comptroller's Office for approval in terms of where we're going to go. They have a copy of everything. They approved who we were allowed to go to. And basically what it shows is that IDA came in the most favorable from a cost standpoint. There is a comparison between other carriers, including the state health benefits, for approximately $800,000 below the state health benefits. There's also a quote from a carrier called IAA, which is another third-party administrator. Just, that's a 12-12 contract. What that means is any claims that were incurred towards the end of the year that would last beyond 12 months would not be covered. So the contract that was being proposed doesn't really meet the needs of the township. Next page is just basically an overview in terms of how the township is running. You guys are still doing the wellness coaching program. Obviously, that program has been running very well for you guys. It's contributed to your losses. Prior to the wellness coaching program, your losses were typically around 80-85%. Now you're running at roughly 61% to date, so obviously it's going in the right direction. What we would also recommend doing is just what we've been doing is doing continual education on alternate plan designs. As you know, Chapter 78, employees have to contribute to their plans. We do have alternate plan options that are available. On July 1 of 2014, they'll be in the final step, Step 4. For some folks, will be paying 30% of premium. So having these alternate plan designs and having employees understand what their cost is very important. And obviously, by taking lesser plan options, you'll be saving money as well as the employee, if they were to choose to do so. The next slide is your dental. Your dental is actually running very well. It's actually projected to come in $2,000 less than what it was last year. There are other plan offerings from other carriers. However, we would recommend staying with Delta. There is a large network disruption, approximately anywhere from 49 to 58%. As we've seen in past cases, a disruption of that size could lead to a grievance, and it's already been in PERC. There's past practice on that disruption that size would lead to the township obviously having to subsidize employees that would lose a doctor of that size. The last slide, that's just basically a quick overview in terms of how the dental renewal came in. It shows it's roughly $3,000 less, and it's just basically describing all the alternate bids in terms of either more costly or not meeting the township's collective bargaining requirements.
I have one question. Give me one second. One question for you on renewal, 12/18. So this is a 5-year contract?
No, what that means is that, say you get a claim December 31st,
Okay.
you have 6 months coverage. After that, there's called a run out. So if you were to leave and go to another carrier or so forth, IDA and the reinsurance carrier has to cover that claim, or whoever incurs
Okay,
claims.
so it's a 1 year.
Yes,
Year to year.
yes.
When
It's to cover any type of runouts if you were to leave.
Okay.
when you're saying 2,764 decrease, you talking per person? What are you talking about? Total overall?
Aggregated. Aggregated.
That's nothing.
I have a question. You say here expected is, $9,285,278.
That would be the township.
Right. Okay, but, and then you have max, so that means it could potentially go up to that as a maximum?
Correct. There's a reinsurance carrier that provides aggregate reinsurance. If you were to completely blow out your program, you have reinsurance to protect you.
Okay, now why, the New Jersey, the state plan, their max is 10 million. It's about 800,000 more,
Correct. That is
730,000 more, so what,
that's a fixed premium that you have to pay.
right?
So
That's their price?
that's their price, and the plan doesn't actually meet your benefit needs. You guys still have traditional plan.
Okay.
And some other co-pays in place that it's not equal to and better than, but we show it anyway because it's required.
And most of our contracts say if you're going to replace their insurance, it's equal to. or
Equal
better.
to and better than, correct. But still, the state's looking to see that we've
Okay.
looked at that.
Our contract expires at the end of the year. We have gap insurance for how long? Or the run out. If we don't renew tonight or by December 31st, how long do we have to renew? Or how long are we covered for?
Well, the coverage would need to renew because the new contract would go into place on January 1st, and we are running 12-18 contracts on top of 12-18 contracts.
But what we're
so
asking
we
is
would-
if this isn't renewed today, our people have insurance January 1st.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so there still is insurance. Okay.
Correct.
That's my point.
Yes.
But they don't have it, they wouldn't have it after the first.
No, you would have to terminate,
And we would jeopardize our excess as well?
Okay. When does Fairview's contract expire?
I guess we're running on a 12-month, I don't actually have what our contract.
I think I have it. I think it expires on December 31st. So, just so I understand, is administration asking us to vote on this resolution, which would approve the IDA tonight?
Yes, it is.
I have a question for the township attorney. Being that this is a 2014 health plan and this is a lame duck council, does this lame duck council have the authority to approve items that will be in the budget in 2014?
I don't know what you mean by lame duck council, but the answer is that the council has absolute authority to approve contracts that would bind the township to any contractual relationship for which the council has authority. So yes, the council has the absolute authority to take action tonight and to pass the resolutions that are before you.
Okay.
Just a quick question for you. If we tabled this for 1 week till, well, not 1 week till our next meeting, would we jeopardize whatsoever if we didn't vote tonight? We put it off till next meeting, the first
Our
one of January.
employees would still have insurance.
Yes, your employees still have insurance.
It's just a thing so we could all basically get a week to look at it.
Yeah, it's basically paperwork.
Okay, so it'd be okay.
Well, Ryan, I think the question is that the first, when is the first meeting in January?
January 7th.
January
No,
7th.
then you
So-
would have an issue.
What's up?
We would have an issue. I didn't realize the first meeting was the 7th.
Oh, they-
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
Well, I guess
Coverage-
theoretically you can have it on the 1st.
Well,
He's
no,
actually
Coverage would lapse then.
yeah,
you would not have-
let's hear from Joe Kowalczyk.
Yeah, the issue would be if our first meeting is not until January 7th, the gap you would run from 1/1 to 1/7. There is no current contract in place.
There's no contract, but our people are covered, insurance.
No, not,
He just said,
what would end up happening is they would be dropped out of the plan and then they would be reassigned the plan.
but last
Because to
year,
that-
last
You
year we
have-
didn't do this until after the new year. So obviously our employees still had insurance this first
The
month.
reinsurance carrier would honor, even though you would sign the paperwork and approve it after January 1st, as long as we get premium payment by the 15th of the month, it'd be okay. So you would have some time.
Because last year, we didn't get this presentation until after the new year.
I don't recall personally.
I remember. It was after the new year.
Was it?
Well, just from a legal perspective, are you saying that the insurance company would be legally obligated to honor the resolution after the 1st? Or are you saying that, as a practical matter, in your experience, that the companies would likely honor it if it came in after the
On a
1st?
practical basis, yes. It's not
Okay,
uncommon
so-
for it to be in place but not be approved to.
So the only way to
Could be
legally
after the
ensure
January 1.
that the insurance is in place for the employees in accordance with the information that you've provided tonight is to pass the resolution tonight. Is that
Correct.
correct? Okay.
I-
Otherwise,
Anticipating this tonight, I anticipated this to happen tonight. I spoke to Jasmine, and she said to me that we risk our excess, and we risk it big time.
Correct.
Are you familiar with Parsippany's pay-to-play ordinance?
Yes,
Yep.
Are you in compliance with it?
yes.
and every, Councilman, every vendor, when they sign a contract, part of what they have to do is to sign off on that and make that representation.
I think we already provided that.
Yeah, you would have to provide, I don't know whether Councilman's familiar with the internal process or not.
No, I'm
but
aware,
there-
I'm aware.
There is a process that every vendor goes through for pay-to-play compliance.
Right.
So they've already represented that they're in compliance just by virtue of having the contract.
At the beginning of the year, correct?
Oh, yes.
So I guess I should amend the question. Are you still in compliance?
Yes.
Since signing?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Council President, what do we do next?
That's it.
We're done with the presentation?
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up presentation, diversity on boards and commissions, results of survey by Paula Cazzarelli.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I'd like to announce I just received an email today that the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills has received recertification as a Sustainability New Jersey town for 2013. Well, what does that mean? That means that Parsippany has been recognized for its efforts in terms of going green, saving money, and taking steps to sustain the quality of life for our community. In doing so, the township is also now eligible for grant funding through the Sustainable New Jersey grant funds. Part of becoming recertified were we were required to do a diversity survey, and essentially what that was is you were to take a sampled portion of our boards and commissions and survey them to ensure or match where they fit in terms of where our demographics are here in the town. And the purpose of it is sustainability is ensuring that our boards and commissions represent our population. That's part of bringing our community together in a better way of life. And what I'd like to present to you today is there was a series of questions on this survey. However, 9 of the questions were directly related to specific close-ended questions. The rest of them were open-ended questions where the respondents could put any question they wanted. But what's most important here is the result of this survey concluded that our demographic represents 31% Asian, and on our current boards and commissions, we only have 8% Asian folks on our boards and commissions. So that basically tells us that we're underrepresented for that particular class. We also have, one of the other issues is age, and the survey delineates age categories. And essentially what the survey result was is we're underrepresented in having persons ages 18 to 39 on our boards and commissions. And the last group that showed underrepresentation on our boards and commissions, according to the 2010 U.S. Bureau Census of Demographics, our population here in Parsippany is 50.7% female, while on our boards and commissions, we only have 14% representation of female. So what do we do with this information? What I'm recommending is that the corrective action that we're going to do is, we need to reach out to these populations, and what will happen is we're going to have on our website and Facebook page the availability of openings on boards and commissions, and our residents, our community, will have the opportunity to submit their resumes for consideration for positions on the boards. And we're hoping that by opening it up to this extent, that we can hope to reach some of these underrepresented classes that have been identified through the survey. And that's it. So thank you very much. And by the way, Parsippany will be recognized at the League of Municipalities in November of 2014 for its accomplishment.
Just as an observation, no minority groups in this town or females have been rejected because of their race or their sex. We have considered all applicants. They submit their resume and they're considered for positions. We don't have a huge abundance of applicants out there in the Asians and the females that have been rejected in any case that I'm aware of.
And you know what, Councilman, and you're right, it's important to note that, this is just for purposes of us understanding perhaps we have to do other outreach efforts to inform our population as to what these availability options are to be on our boards and commissions. It by no means is reflective of discrimination in terms of what is representative. It's basically any applications that come in, they're evaluated, and those folks are voted on these boards or appointed on these boards. It is in no way a reflection as to the fact that other classes of folks are not considered part of this. It's just a matter of, it's just a matter of, let's make the effort to see if we could reach more.
All you need to do then is just to post on our internet website all of the committees that we have in the township, when and where they meet, how often they meet, and what the requirements are.
Well,
Yes.
And
I
then
don't think
people
you
can
can-
go on the website and look at it.
yeah, but what are you going to do? Say, attention all Asians, please look here?
No.
No, I can't. How are you doing it on the
No.
website?
No,
No,
but
no,
we're-
it's
we're
an
making-
effort.
We're making available to the public all of the committees that we do have in operation.
It's an effort on our behalf to continue with our green sustainability and ensure that our community is integrated in our boards and commissions. It's
Were they made aware that we have a liaison to the Asian community?
As a matter of
Did that-
fact, I believe I spoke to Jasmine. I believe one of the churches, I don't recall the person's name, but we're going to certainly reach out to the liaison for that purpose.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, bids to be taken, December 19, 2013, 11 a.m. One new unused 2014 Hyundai model HL 740 XTD wheel loader, approved equivalent for Parks and Forestry. January 3rd, 2014, 11 a.m. Processing of fats, oils, and grease. Okay, ordinances, second read and public hearing, 2013:31, Mr. DiPiero.
An ordinance of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills in the County of Morris, New Jersey, providing for the acquisition by purchase and/or elevation of properties, including all structures, work equipment, and materials necessary therefore, or incidental therefore, in the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills through the FEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant Program and County Open Space Flood Mitigation Program, and appropriating $9,626,941 therefore.
Second.
Motion by Mr. DiPiero, second by Mr. Farrar. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to open this up to the public.
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Karifi.
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
At this time, I'll open this up to the public, only this motion. See no one come forward, I'll entertain a motion to close the public.
motion.
Motion by Mr. Karifi,
So moved.
second by Mr. Farrar. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. DiPiero?
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading and a hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading and a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law.
Second.
Motion by Mr. DiPiero, second by Mr. Farrar. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes. Ordinance 2013:32, Mr. Farrar.
An ordinance of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, accepting dedication of a portion of Block 448, Lot 23rd, as shown on the official tax map of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, for future roadway purposes from 78 Fanny Road, LLC.
Motion by Mr. Farrar.
Second.
Second by Mr. Karifi. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to open this ordinance to the public.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Nelson,
Second.
second by Mr. Karifi. All in favor?
Aye.
At this time, I'll open up this motion only to the public. Seeing no one come forward, I'll entertain a motion to close this ordinance.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Nelson,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPiero.
The above ordinance was published in its entirety in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, on December 5th, 2013.
Motion by Mr. Farrar,
Second.
second by Mr. Karifi. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, ordinance 2013:33, Mr. Karifi.
An ordinance of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, authorizing a license agreement with Rainbow Lakes Community Club, Inc., for the license of property known as portion of Block 106, Lots 5 and 13.01 as shown on the official tax map of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills. The above ordinance was published in its entirety in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, on December 5th, 2013.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Creepy, second by Mr. DePiero. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to open this to the public.
Make a motion?
Motion by Mr. Creepy,
Second.
second by Mr. Farrar. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
At this time, I'll open up this ordinance to the public. See no one come forward, I'll entertain a motion to close this ordinance to the public.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Nelson,
Second.
second by Mr. Creepy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Creepy?
Whereas the above ordinance was read on title, on second reading, and a hearing held thereon, now therefore be resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading, and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Creepy, second by Mr. DePiero. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, ordinance 2013:34. Mr. Nelson.
An ordinance of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, authorizing an amendment to the lease agreement with the Troy Hills Memorial Post Number 10184, Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States, concerning premises located at 220 Troy Road, Block 728, Lot 5, in the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, so as to extend the term of the lease for an additional 5 years.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Nelson, second by Mr. DePiero. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to open this to the public.
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Creepy, second by Mr. Farrar. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
At this time, I'll open up this ordinance to the public. See no one come forward, I'll entertain a motion to close this to the public.
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Creepy, second by Mr. Farrar. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Nelson.
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading and a hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading, and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Nelson, second by Mr. DePiero. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, ordinance 2013:35. Mr. DePiero.
An ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 290, Parks, Recreation Areas, and Public Lands, Article 2, Use Regulations, Permit Requirements of the Code of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills. The above ordinance was published in its entirety in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, on December 6, 2013.
Second.
Motion by Mr. DePiero, second by Mr. Farrar. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to open this ordinance to the public.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Nelson,
Second.
second by Mr. DePiero. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. At this time, I'll open this ordinance to the public. See no one come forward, I'll entertain a motion to close this ordinance to the public.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Farrar, second by Mr. Nelson. Mr. DePiero.
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading and a hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading, and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law.
Motion by Mr. DePiero,
Second.
second by Mr. Farrar. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, ordinance 2013:36. Mr. Farrar.
An ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, Morris County, New Jersey, amending Section 4-66, meeting, hearing and appeal of the Code of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills. The above ordinance was published in its entirety in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, on December 6, 2013.
Motion by Mr. Farrar,
Second.
second by Mr. DePiero. All in favor?
Aye.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to open this ordinance to the public.
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Karifi,
Second.
second by Mr. Nelson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
At this time, I'll open up this ordinance to the public. See no one come forward, I'll entertain a motion to close this ordinance to the public.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Nelson.
Second.
Second by Mr. Karifi.
Whereas the ordinance was read in title on second reading and a hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law.
Motion by Mr. Farrar,
Second.
second by Mr. DePiero. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, ordinance 2013:37. Mr. Karifi.
Ordinance authorizing the business administrator of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills to execute and renew, as necessary, a lease with the building maintenance superintendent of Craftsman Farms. The above ordinance was published in its entirety in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, on December 6, 2013.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Karifi, second by Mr. DiPiero. All in favor?
Aye.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to open this to the public.
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Karifi.
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Nelson. All in favor?
Aye.
At this time, I'll open this ordinance to the public. See no one come forward, I'll entertain a motion to close this to the public.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Nelson. Second by Mr. Karifi. Mr. Karifi.
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading and a hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper recording the law.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Karifi, second by Mr. DiPiero. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to open this to the public for public hearing.
So
Motion
moved.
by Mr. Karifi, second by Mr. Farrar. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, I now open this to the public. You'll be given 5 minutes to speak.
On any subject.
You guys want to talk?
Come on. I'm not going to go if they're going to
Well,
talk.
what are they doing? Having a meeting?
Just sign in, please, sir.
Sign in here.
Yes.
Well, Nacio Bucco proposed the Senate. That's what they.
My name is David Rice. I am from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I'm with Cross Properties, which is a firm which has looked at redeveloping Greystone Manor, or Greystone. And we spent some amount of time looking at what the state has put together and looking at the market and what we think we can do there. And I wanted to just come in front of you guys. You could see that who we are and also our interest in redeveloping the site. We have a lot of experience with historic redevelopment. Specifically, we've done a $95 million project in downtown Philadelphia, 1616 Walnut Street. We've also done a $35 million project in Lower Merion Township in Pennsylvania. That's a similar style building. Originally was a hotel, but it's a smaller project, about 10 acres, but it has some of the similar challenges that Greystone has. So I had a couple of things that I wanted to put out there. One, we have a history of doing historic renovations, taking advantage of tax credits, working with community groups, working with the state in order to solve complex problems. It's no doubt that Greystone is a challenging building and on a lot of levels, but we think that through an open process and by working with the different groups who are involved in it, that we can create a lot of value and that we can preserve the historic structure and turn it into something that's economically viable and good for the township and the state.
My question to you would be this, and that sounds very interesting. I've met with the county, I met with the state in regards to Greystone, and I've been involved, way back with Eileen and Adam McGovern in regards to the Greystone. You can make an appointment in my office. I would like to speak with you because cost is always a factor.
Right.
And we know that could cost a lot of money. And when you talk about redevelopment, obviously you're not talking about the redevelopment for the town. You're talking about redevelopment for a possible prospect. Am I correct?
That is correct.
All right. And they would be responsible to repair the building to a historical.
Correct. Part of being able to get the historic tax credits from the federal level is that you have to keep some of the historical features of the project.
Right.
Each project's a little bit different in terms of what is considered historical and all those elements. But that that's part of the process that you go through with the Park Service.
All right, then call my office on, and if any other council members have questions. You have a
I
card?
have my card.
All right, thank you.
Can you give me an overview of the type of uses you project for there as a possibilities? Broadband, just,
I mean, I think we like doing residential, and residential is the most obvious prime use. There's other potentials in terms of senior, their senior living, or a combination of different kinds of residential, from some for sale and some rental. But we typically look at things first and foremost as apartments, because that's something that's very easy to underwrite and finance. But we think that with a building as large as Greystone, there's going to have to be multiple components to it. And so that's all part of the conversation that we'd be having. But we have experience in both in terms of office and retail and other aspects which with a building, again, of this size, it probably makes sense to include. But again, that's part of the process.
the size of that building, I'd get real concerned about rental units and density and traffic patterns. Would be a big issue, probably a big nut to swallow. Are you familiar with the bill that Senator Panaccio and Bucco have just proposed?
I am not in too great of detail. My understanding is that
All right, I'll just highlight it for you. What they're proposing is to turn over Greystone over to the county with a lot of restrictions, and those restrictions include no commercial or retail use.
Yep.
Which kind of cuts way down on our options of what we can do with that property if it's turned over to the county.
In terms of how we look at things is we like to work collaboratively with the different groups. That's one thing that we've had to do with our other projects. Having flexibility, and you mentioned traffic is a concern. That's something that we have to work through. Our style isn't that we come here and we fight it out to get everything we can. Our style is that we want to be in places where people like us and where we like them. And so that's if it doesn't make sense and we can't create something that works for everyone, then we don't want to be involved. But we think that there is a way when you think creatively and when you spend time thinking about how to do it and bring all parties to the table, that you can make things happen that at first glance you don't know how it's going to work.
Yeah, I'm 100% in support of preserving Greystone, but it's not preserve Greystone at all costs. I mean, there are some limits I place on that to gain my support.
No, I don't have a question for him.
Can I ask him? Oh, yes. I'm sorry. The question I have is, New Jersey does not have a state historic tax credit.
Correct.
You're aware of that, correct? Pennsylvania does.
Yes.
And the projects that you cited were in Pennsylvania, correct? And I think that if you look, New Jersey has very little in the way of historic preservation on significant historic sites compared to Pennsylvania, Maryland, and many other states that have state historic tax credits. So my question, I guess, is it's just in terms of viability, is whether or not you've done any economic pro formas to determine whether or not a project of this type of size would have any chance of penciling for finance or equity purposes in a state that doesn't offer or have a state historic tax credit.
So for projects of the size that we typically deal with, the main source of tax credits related to historic preservation is the feds, on the federal level. So the state tax credit for Pennsylvania is not large relative to the projects that we do. So when we operate in Pennsylvania, we're not primarily looking at the state tax credits to get jobs done. In terms of as we've looked at the financial aspects of this deal, we like the market in terms of both the residential market for multifamily especially. I think that as we get into more detail, there's a lot of things that are going to come up. But as we've initially looked at it, there's a reason I came all the way up here, because we think it's compelling and it's interesting. But it's a long and complicated process moving from you look at the building to figuring out what you're going to do and where all the cost drivers are and what's going to create the economic value.
Being from PA, how did you hear about the Greystone property?
So we actually heard it, some of our historic consultants on another project, they said, this is really similar to what you guys are doing. We think you guys might play well up here, and
I was just going to say.
they gave a
Because you answered my question.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
thank you.
I assume Maryland has a state.
I'm going to leave. Sorry.
You know what? I'm just putting it on the record. I guess it's my understanding that Maryland has state historic tax credits.
Yeah, they
It's been established that Pennsylvania does and New Jersey doesn't.
I think Philly has its own extra.
Just let me just get into the record that maybe New Jersey should start looking into it, as the township attorney just pointed out, that Maryland and Pennsylvania have more historic properties than New Jersey. Aside from this,
More historic properties redeveloped.
for redevelopment, that might be one of the reasons being.
New Jersey actually has a lot of historic properties,
Yeah,
which
but-
makes a compelling case for a
Right.
state historic tax credit, but we don't have it.
I would certainly support any help towards redevelopment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So would I.
Yeah, it's a good idea. It totally makes sense. Yeah,
Good evening. I'm Adam McGovern, 87 St. John's Avenue in Mount Tabor. And I just wanted to follow up on what Mr. Rice was talking about and actually thank all of you for the forum you've presented. For his presentation tonight and a few weeks back for Jonathan Cloud, both of them were, two of the six representatives of two of the six companies that had come forth when the state put out the call for expressions of interest. And I think that this is the kind of dialogue that we wanted to see, and I think that we should have been having a long time ago, and it's not too late, and I'm happy that you're providing it. I do think that there's impressive resources, promising proposals on the table, and they really deserve more of this kind of discussion. Mr. Inglesino is right that we're an island surrounded by other states that have that tax credit. My group, Preserve Greystone, has been in conversation with the Treasury Department. Well, we were for a while. They've stopped communicating with us. But they would bring up the lack of a tax credit often. And of course, as you probably know, both houses of the state legislature have passed this tax credit, and it's been vetoed by the governor who, commissioned this study. So there's a bit of a paradox there, though, as Mr. Royce pointed out, the federal tax credit is the real kind of heavy hitter, that's the factor in these decisions. I do think that it would be, very beneficial to keep the options open, and also keep your agency open as a municipality. I mean, decisions that are made by the state, of course, are going to be mostly directed by the state, and even at the county level, are going to have less input, from the municipality. Whereas projects that went forward from any of the developers would, of course, very much have to engage your body, probably the zoning and planning boards, in the decision making. And I know that a lot of the firms that applied to the state's call for expressions of interest are very good at working those deals and making sure that there's communication with the local communities and addressing of people's concerns. It's getting ahead of ourselves because I know later tonight Mr. Nelson's resolution that has to do with the Pinocchio and Bucco bill will be read. But I think that might tie your hands a bit, and we certainly support either that bill not going forward or having a more meaningful inclusion of thoughts about how to develop how to redevelop and rehabilitate and preserve the main building at Greystone, which we think it kind of in some ways sloughs over the issue of, and also by not really dealing with directly, almost creates momentum for the solution being unworkable. Whereas I think the state and the administration in Trenton did a good job soliciting really meaningful proposals. I don't think they've done such a good job in listening to, and considering the implications and the possibilities of what got submitted. But, part of that is in your power too. And I thank you for having listened tonight and, other nights, and hopefully for some time in the future.
Question for you, Adam. With the Panaccio Bucco bill, how many of the 6 viable applicants would that knock out, in your best guess?
That's a good. Probably several of them, because they all involve. I mean, most of them involve some kind of commercial. I mean, I guess there's 2 or 3 that have to do with nonprofits or renewable energy projects, things like that. Others are definitely, as we've seen, focus on residential and things like that. I think realistically, there's got to be some mix for a building of the hugeness of Greystone. It's not going to work with all nonprofit. There does have to be some kind of public-private or nonprofit and commercial component. How that gets worked out is an open question.
Okay, then you're kind of confirming what I suspected when I read the bill, that bill is a kiss of death to all of the options that we have to preserve Greystone.
To a lot of them. I mean, I think it definitely narrows the options and ties local government's hands in terms of what the whole spectrum of possibilities would be.
This is directed more to Councilman DiPiero, but Adam, just confirm that this is right. When the state sent out the RFP for this, what did they give, like 30 days notice?
It was quite short. It was like under 2 months, if I
it
remember
was less than
correctly,
2 months that they asked for proposals for an enormous project, an enormously complex project. I was actually surprised that you got six different firms who were able to put anything together in that time frame. As far as the senator's bill down in Trenton, the bottom line is, if this bill passes, which I'm not convinced that it will, it's going to guarantee that all that property is all those buildings are going to come down, because there's no way in the world Morris County is going to accept that property with these buildings on them, because they're going to have to accept responsibility. And we just know that the freeholders are not going to be pouring money into this Kirkbride or any of the other buildings. So, and
that's why I said this is the kiss of death.
It is a kiss of death. I mean, the county would be more than happy to take a vacant lot. And that's what's going to happen if this bill passes.
And there's not even any value judgment attached to that. I mean, we know that, a few years back, the state did offer to sell the property, or even just transfer the property, I think, to the county, and the county said they'd take the land without the building, which is a little paradoxical, but, it tells us which part they're interested in.
The approach I would like to see happen here is, I suspect that the county would refuse to take it with the buildings as is and all options removed.
Correct.
That being the case, the state has to remove the buildings. Now, the estimate that we have is $10 million to remove those buildings with the asbestos and everything else in there, $10 million. Why can't we divert our efforts to tell the state, instead of spending $10 million to remove the building, use that into one of these options to restore the building? They're going to spend that $10 million anyway. Let's spend it constructively instead of destructively.
It's a very good point, because we get nothing for it otherwise.
Yeah. How do we get them to move in that direction? That's the question I have.
This appears what the state is doing right now is they're making pretend that building doesn't exist. And it's gone through 2 years of terrible hurricanes, and every year the building's getting worse and worse. So the way I'm looking at it is, the longer the state makes pretend that this building doesn't exist, eventually they're going to be right, because it's just going to tear apart. But the bottom line is, this property is in Parsippany. It's always been in Parsippany. Well, as long as Parsippany's been around, it's been in Parsippany. And Parsippany should have an extremely important seat at that table of what happens going forward.
My concern is, if one of these proposals goes through with high-density rental units, it's in Parsippany.
Well, remember, it's
so
zoned.
We get all those school children.
No, you're absolutely right. But right now, I think it's zoned rural residential. So Parsippany has a lot of control at the planning board stage of what they can do. But the way I'm looking at it is don't don't rush into things, because if this bill passes down in Trenton, it guarantees a destruction. The wrecking ball will be coming down in 2 weeks. The state should ask for more proposals, and work with the nonprofits, work with the county, work with the county to rehabilitate this building. This bill is just not the way to go, not right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think more time is the key,
Yeah.
And I do think that this bill passing would rush things
Yeah.
to a conclusion. Now, I mean, earlier the state had told us that they could put it out to bid for demolition as early as December. We're almost out of December, and I guess that isn't going to happen quite yet. I don't know if they're waiting to see what happens with this bill or what, even though, as you're pointing out, Mr. DiPiero, it kind of makes it a bit of a fait accompli if the bill passes. I'm not even sure that they would need to invite more proposals, just dialogue with the people who made the proposals. I mean, it was called a request for expressions of interest. It was by its nature a preliminary step, and you'd think that that would mean like an opening volley and you come back and negotiate with people. And as you know, none of these developers has ever heard from the state. I mean, we're talking about what could be the waste of the 10 to, I've heard as much as $12 million for demolition. What about the 27+ million they spent to do this study that they don't seem to be, really paying close enough attention to?
And that's in addition to the $11 million asbestos cleanup. That doesn't include that cost.
That's right, yeah.
So you're talking $21 million to tear that building down, because it has to be remediated. The hazardous materials have to be remediated before that building comes down.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
I'm John Hebner. I'm a resident of Denville, but I'm the president of Preserve Greystone, and I just wanted to clarify a couple points. The cost for remediating the Kirkbride building alone is $6 million. That's something that's going to happen in any case, no matter what happens next. The taxpayers are on the hook for remediation. The demolition costs for the building after that, if that were the course that we took, would be an additional $7 to $10 million just for that building. Other buildings on the site, everything all together, remediation and demolition, $50 million. The state senator's bill does not address the money or the buildings at all. It doesn't say who's going to pay for any of it. But it's an enormous cost, and it doesn't matter. Whether the county's spending the money or the state's spending the money, it's all our money. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
And by the way, I'm not sure why redevelopment of existing property is being made out to be such a boogeyman in this particular case, but nothing's going to happen on that property by a private developer without the approval of the town of Parsippany. And that's not true if the county owns it. Thank you.
Right. John, you just have to sign in afterwards. I will. Okay.
Hi. Hi, Betty Wyka, 1 Bennett Court, Parsippany. Forgive me, we're on the general comments about this. It doesn't have to be Greystone. Okay, just wanted to double check. I just wanted to say thank you so much for the statistics that you shared earlier about Parsippany and how well we're doing in so many areas with regard to sustainability. That was really informational. And I'm so refreshed to hear that there's a public acknowledgement of the lack of women and minorities that are included in the governing of the town and the boards that are a part of it. So I'm just excited about that, and I wanted to say thank you. And I also wanted to say thank you to Jonathan for your service. I know that tonight is your last meeting, so thank you so much.
Vinny's too.
I'm sorry?
Vinny's
Oh, and Vinny's too. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm not on your Facebook, so. Thank you.
Thanks.
Roy, you get 2 minutes.
I thought I get about 22.
The calculator.
I want to hold everybody up. Roy Mesmer, 10 Drumlin Drive. Excuse my appearance. I was supposed to be in the woods tonight, but I heard something was going on here. Regarding the medical insurance, Council President and the rest of the Council and Administration, I've said this for 15 years I've been coming here. Presentation like this tonight, can it be put up on this board up here, the screen, so the public can, digest the information that you're allowed to see? So my first question is there a because he stands up here tonight, Ryan Graham, and says that our claim loss is 61%. We all know that we could have some catastrophic situations over the next couple of years, and it could be 120%. But my question is, what is the medical insurance? Has it gone down or has it gone up? I don't think that was, nobody asked that question tonight, or I didn't hear it.
It's gone up.
It's gone up. How much up, sir?
The renewal that's being projected is 1.7%.
Okay, so almost 2% increase. But yet we've had a 61% claim loss ratio. I thought it would be going down with that type of ratio. Regarding what the township attorney had mentioned too, that Fairview and the other gentlemen, their companies are in compliance with our pay to play. But it doesn't say that they're not making contributions to some type of PAC, and then it's coming down to the political people running for office. And that's, that's nothing much, that's all said. What that is just a subterfuge. So what I'm going to say to everybody here tonight, because I think I said it a couple years ago, just hit your computer tonight, Google "follow the money," and you'll see a lot of things about those two organizations that were here tonight. Next question. I'm going to be real pointed with this. Being a white boy born in the early 50s, quotas always bother me, because it should be qualified people, people who get involved. And, Paul, nothing what you're saying. You're just getting information from that committee. But I do want to make 2 points. If they're going to talk about, well, there's not enough certain people on our boards, on our commissions, elected officials, well, then we should have a sign-in sheet there. And the sign-in sheet, a person should put down, just like when you have a mortgage application or you're applying for college, what's your race? You'll see that Township of Parsippany does not have 31% Asians come to the meetings, whether it be these meetings, planning board meetings, Board of Adjustment meetings, Board of Education meetings. I mean, really. Because, I get a kick out of these liberal commies that bring up these quota crap, is that what they should say is, how come we don't have 31% in the military? It's white and black boys that make up 95%. I include the Puerto Ricans in that because, they serve this country very well. But, I have a real problem with that. And I wasn't going to even get up here tonight and talk about it because I didn't know the insurance was being discussed and quota stuff. But that's all.
Next, you're going to say that Asians can't drive.
No, I didn't say that. They don't drive well.
Drive well.
That's it. Have a Merry Christmas. All right. I'm sorry. Happy holidays.
Roy, can I make an observation?
Oh, Roy, just to give you a heads up.
Yeah, I like it.
I was married to an Asian.
It's not a cowboy hat.
Roy, I was married to an Asian for almost 20 years. She was from communist China. She wanted nothing to do with government or getting involved in government. A lot of it had to do with her upbringing and her culture. There's no doubt that the township needs to be better represented, but I don't see how we can bring people in if they're not interested in it. That's my whole point.
Yeah. It only comes to you guys when you want temple up, when you want, when there's a problem. They want the bus routes.
Because I don't think there's a person up here who would ever deny somebody based on their ethnicity. Yeah.
See no one else come forward, I'll entertain a motion to close the public session.
So moved.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Farrar, second by Mr. Greafy. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. Shapiro.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes for a special meeting, April 6, 2013, closed session meeting, May 7, 2013, closed session meeting, June 11, 2013, closed session meeting, July 9, 2013, agenda meeting, May 7, 2013, agenda meeting, June 11, 2013, agenda meeting, July 9, 2013, regular meeting, July 16, 2013.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. DiPiero,
Second.
second by Mr. Creefy. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara,
Yes.
Mr. Nelson,
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, engineer report 2013, Mr. Greifich.
Engineering report, there's no change with the exception of the last one, which is resolution approving submission of applications to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection for an individual freshwater wetlands permit and a flood hazard area permit in connection with Edwards Road improvements. This office has reviewed the individual freshwater wetlands permit application and the flood hazard area environmental reports, both prepared by Masser Consulting, PA, dated September 2013. We have no objection to the council approving the submission of these permits by a resolution.
All in favor? Any questions?
Do we have the resolution on tonight's agenda?
Yeah, the resolution's on the agenda tonight. I suppose you could take action on it now if you want to.
Is it on the consent agenda?
Well, there isn't.
There is no consent.
There isn't a
Oh.
consent
Cancel.
agenda, but if I can just very quickly, this is the Edwards Road redevelopment project. As you know, the council declared this area in need of redevelopment back in February of 2012. You may recall that part of the public benefit of this project is flood mitigation. And in order for the road to be raised and realigned, and in order for the developer to assess the viability of the project, they need to apply to DEP to get these permits. So what these permits will enable the developer to do is to realign the road and to raise it to mitigate the flooding problems down there, and also to assess the viability of the project, because if they don't get the permits to do this work, I mean, as I understand it, there's really no project. So I would suggest that the council, take action tonight to authorize the submission of these of permits down to DEP, so we can see whether or not this project and the flood mitigation benefits to the township can be realized. It's hard to go forward with the redevelopment plan or anything of that nature without knowing whether or not.
This is the first step, and that's fine. I've stated before on this, I just want to make sure that some phase in the future is going to include, when a detention basin is built, is going to include raising new road and allowing the water to flow into that detention basin, because we've been denied permission to raise new road unless we find a way to route the water.
Yes, it will.
And
That's one of the things
solution.
one of the things that these permits
I know.
will enable you to do.
I just
is to
wanted to
raise
make
the
sure
road.
it's still on the record. We're still going in that direction.
That's Mr. Henshaw. No, he's
John,
not.
is it on for tonight? 'Cause I don't-
It's on for tonight. It's number 239.
Okay, so we'll just go forward, right?
You can either do it later, or you can do it now, and I know there's some folks here waiting. It's up to you, Mr.
Okay,
Council President.
2013-239, Mr. Nelson. It's page 9. You could just read that off real quick.
Just one quick question.
Okay.
Mr. Henshaw, the name of your client again?
Parsippany Partners.
Parsippany Partners. The principals?
Nick Laganella and the Laganella family, they're different groups.
You want to speak into the microphone so we can get this
Okay.
recorded? Yancy would appreciate that.
Yeah.
My name is Doug Henshaw. I'm an attorney at law with the firm of Porzio, Bromberg, Newman, Morristown. This property is owned by a group of partnerships from the Laganella family. They've owned this property since John Kennedy was president, and that ownership takes, I think, 5 different forms, but all involve the same Laganella family. We filed applications with the planning board and with the governing body in connection with the redevelopment designation that has all those ownership percentages listed. I don't have them at the tip of my tongue, but they're all on the record before the governing body. And John has correctly characterized the application. This is an application to the DEP for 2 different things at no cost to the township to see if we can raise Edwards Road and create a significant flood storage capability on a portion of our client's property. And it's the next essential step. We really shouldn't waste your time going any further till we make sure that the DEP will let us do what we want to do. And the plan is consistent with what we've been representing the municipality for in excess of 2.5, 3 years now. So
Okay.
we appreciate your consideration.
Thanks.
Do you mind just signing in if you're leaving?
Not at all.
Unless you're staying. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Nelson.
Okay, sure. R213-239, resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills approving submission of applications to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection for an individual freshwater wetlands permit and a flood hazard area permit in connection with Edwards Road.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Nelson, second by Mr. DiPiero. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Happy holidays.
At this time, I will entertain a motion to go into closed session.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Nelson, second by Mr. Farrar. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes. Resolution, whereas the open public, we're going to be going into closed session for litigation and contract issues.
We'll take
Resolution, whereas the Open Public Meeting Act, Public Law 1975, Chapter 231 permits the exclusion of public from the meeting in certain circumstances. Whereas the Township Council, in the opinion such certain circumstances presently exist, whereas the Township Council wishes to discuss attorney-client privilege, litigation matters, where minutes will be kept once the matter involving confidentiality no longer requires confidentiality, the minutes can be made public. Now therefore be it resolved by Township Council, Township Parsippany-Troy Hills, public be excluded from this meeting.
Second.
Motion by myself, second by Mr. Farrar. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes.
On now.
Make a motion to reconvene.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Karifi to reconvene, second by Mr. Farrar. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes. Resolutions, or 2013-212, Mr. Nelson.
Excuse me just 1 second.
Okay. KJ.
You know what, Mr. Council President?
We don't have to.
I don't need a table.
Nope.
Resolution 2013-212. Resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills authorizing a settlement agreement with CBS Outdoor LLC.
Motion by Mr. Nelson, second by Mr. Farrar. Roll call. Oh, yeah, if you want to do it. Quick exit.
Just for the benefit of the public, this is a settlement of a lawsuit that was filed by CBS back in 2005. It was filed as a prerogative writ action. The judge actually sent the matter back to the planning board to exhaust remedies. The planning board denied the application for the billboard. At that time, and actually currently, the township zoning permits billboards basically at the Sharkey's landfill site. CBS filed a lawsuit again in 2008, adding constitutional claims. Judge Bazanellis bifurcated the case. He wanted to hear the prerogative writ action first, which is a determination as to whether or not the planning board acted arbitrarily, capriciously, and unreasonably. He found that the planning board did not act arbitrarily, capriciously, unreasonably. But then the second part of the case, the judge considered the constitutional claims, which is whether or not the township's current ordinance is violative of the First Amendment. That case progressed, and sometime in or around 2010, time goes by, there came a point in time when we needed expert reports from planners with respect to the constitutionality of the town's current ordinance. And it was determined at that point, really, that the township was better served by settling this case because our expert did not feel that he could really professionally opine that the township's current ordinance would pass constitutional muster. So there has been a series of negotiations with CBS with regard to the adoption of a new ordinance, as well as other settlement terms that would provide for revenue sharing for the municipality with respect to future billboards that may be erected. And the township is now about to take action, the council, that would settle the case in a way that would cause the town to change its ordinance to permit additional opportunities for billboards. And again, as part of that settlement, the town would go out in RFP because these would be on township, basically on township-owned sites, and the township would have the opportunity to share and participate in the revenues that would be generated from those billboards. Mr. Snikes is here, who is the township's planner, and if he would be kind enough to, just for the benefit of the public, indicate, where the prospective sites for billboards would be in the future. And I think on one of the sites we were talking about electronic billboard, and on two of the sites we're talking about static signage or billboards.
That's correct. Good evening, everyone. Edward Snikes with the firm of Burgess and Associates. The ordinances being considered in alignment with the settlement agreement are twofold. There's two separate ordinances. One is to make changes to certain properties for designations of certain zones, as well as a second ordinance is a ordinance that would amend the what's called outdoor off-track advertising ordinance that's currently in existence within the municipality. The changes include permitted uses for the zones of O2, which is office 2, and the POD zone, and maintains the LIW5 district. It removes the SED5 district from the current permitted uses in that zone as a off-track advertising. It rezones several lots along Baldwin Road, adjacent to Troy Road, which are all municipal properties, from O1 to O2 in designation. The uniqueness of that is that the O2 designation would be specifically for those properties. The lots are block 728, lots 4, 4.01, 5, 6, and 7. Also calls for the rezoning of a lot from O1 to O3, which is adjacent to Smithfield, and it's really just to address what is currently an O1 district and being changed to an O3 district, which is the same zoning for Smithfield. But that O3 district would not permit off-track advertising. As I mentioned earlier, it would be the O2 zone. It does also call for the rezoning of lots from O3 to O2 along Grange Road, and I have an exhibit to show that location as well, which I'll point to now. What I'll be referring to is an exhibit that our office prepared, which is an aerial photograph showing an overlay of the existing zoning. As you'll see, at the bottom of the illustration is Route 80. At the top is Route 46, Baldwin Road. This is actually an extension of Troy Road at the end of the street here. It's currently zoned as an O1 district. It includes the PAL building and several other municipal tracts that are adjacent to the PAL building, including the Smithfield area. As I mentioned a moment ago, Smithfield is in the O3 zone. These series of lots are in the O1 district currently. And what we're proposing is to change those to the O2 district, because what is part and parcel with that is frontage along Route 80, and that's what's paramount to this ordinance, is that it calls for the lot where, in fact, there may be an off-track advertising sign to have consistency and frontage on a freeway. It cannot have frontage on anything but a freeway in order for that off-track advertising. In addition to that, but what is off illustration, I apologize, but it's been mentioned and I have a tax map for reference, is the end of Grange Road, which is approximately here in the illustration. There are a series of municipal tracts, and we're calling for 4 of those lots to be rezoned also into the O2 district, similar to what we're showing along Baldwin Road. But yet that O2 district would also allow frontage. There's one tract that has frontage along Route 80 for frontage for an off-track advertising sign. In addition to that, what is also called for is the POD zone. As you recall, the POD zone is adjacent to and includes the municipal building. And what's unique about the POD zone, and I'm now referring to my next illustration, which shows the POD zone. POD zone is a very large zone along Route 46 and Waterview Boulevard, also crosses over Parsippany Boulevard but where it has frontage on a freeway, highway, is along Route 287. And primarily, it's the municipal tract at this location because of its frontage and proximity to the freeway. And what we would be doing is to permit off-track advertising that could be on the municipal property.
Ed, just real quick, so we're going to change the zone for?
No, that would stay POD.
Okay.
But that the POD would permit off-track advertising, but it has to have frontage on a freeway. And this is the only location where the POD has frontage.
So there's no overlay zone that's what would be required for that?
No, and I appreciate that. But yet, also, the ordinance is being also adjusted so that it would allow the second principal use of an off-track advertising on the same property. Also, a maximum height of 45 feet is the adjustments in the zoning requirements. And then also, the off-track advertising sign area, which is currently 500 square feet, is being increased slightly to 672 square feet, which then would conform with a standard size template for an off-track advertising sign.
I should have asked this before, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
that's okay.
When you say 45 feet, that's from street level?
That's from grade of the bottom of the sign itself.
Okay.
To the top.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good to go. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Just for the record, I've been opposed to billboards in Parsippany for 30 years. I consider billboards site pollution. And when we were required to provide a location, I supported the location down by Sharky's Dump. Now, that's been overturned, and so now we have no choice. The courts are doing this. So, begrudgingly, yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, or 2013-232. Mr. DiPiero.
A resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills authorizing the Planning Board of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills to conduct a preliminary investigation of certain property within the township for potential redevelopment. Do I have an address for that property?
Yeah, that's Morris Corporate 5 and 6.
Okay.
Just very quickly, the property owner has met with the administration, and there is an opportunity to bring in a major, potentially a major corporate business to Parsippany. And so, in looking at this area, the administration is recommending that the council pass this resolution so that the planning board can determine whether or not this area would be could be designated as an area in need of redevelopment. There is no residential development contemplated at all. This is contemplated for commercial property, and I think, Mr. Snykes, there was one additional lot you wanted to add to the resolution. Is that correct?
Yes, if I could. And what I have also.
This is Edwards Road, not Morris.
Oh, this is Edward Road, you already did. This is Morris Corporate.
Yes, and what I'd like to point out is in white on the illustration provided for the governing body are the two actual lots, Morris Corporate 5, Morris Corporate 6. The two properties received preliminary approval in 2000. That preliminary approval also included what's called Block 136.01, Lot 76. It's a small parcel that's isolated and surrounded by Lot 44. What I would recommend is that we include that parcel also into the redevelopment study so that we can evaluate this entirety of that area to be concise and inclusive.
Mr. Council President? Yes. The resolution that we have in front of us by title is correct, but the actual resolution is incorrect.
We have to remove on Edwards.
They're talking different properties in this resolution.
In the second paragraph, it says on Edwards Road. That just needs to be removed.
Well, we're adding one lot.
And we're adding a
What?
lot. What was that lot?
See, I thought it was on Edwards Road because it says Edwards Road. I don't know the block and lot numbers by the top of my head.
The block and lot numbers that are shown here are in fact correct according to your tax maps.
What block and lots?
Certainly, it's block 136.01, lot 43.3. That is this lot right here, which is Morris Corporate 5. Block 136.01, lot 44 is in fact Morris Corporate 6.
All right.
And what I just offered
So
for the council.
what's the address? I mean,
The address, the actual street address, I don't know that offhand.
All right,
But
see,
the
this-
address
I think
probably
what the
would be
council is
Cherry
very-
Hill Road and Upper Pond Road.
See, the council this is where we're getting confused, because it's saying that this was Edwards Road, and then we were hearing the presentation, I thought this was all tied in together as one thing.
I see.
Mr. Council President, can I just table this until we can get it right?
We have a motion to table by Mr. Nelson,
Second.
second by
It's-
Mr. Greavy.
we-
Roll call.
We're doing the wrong resolution here. The resolution that we have in our hands is not the correct resolution.
It's the right resolution, it's just one.
Just with the wrong address.
No.
Just
Address is right.
No, the address is correct. I
lots
mean,
and lot are correct.
lots and blocks is correct. If Edward Road is referenced in the header, obviously that should be
so
omitted.
what's the address?
But
Where exactly is this?
Certainly. I would say it's Upper Pond Road and Cherry Hill Road, so it's probably two different addresses because it doesn't actually front on, that road is proposed to be continued, Upper Pond Road, as what was part of the preliminary approval, but it also has frontage on Hill Road, so it's multiple frontages on the various tracks.
What's its zone now?
The zone is the SCD 5 district.
And what do you want to look into changing it to?
Oh, we're not looking to change the zone. We're actually discussing
What's there
ideas
now?
for
I'm sorry,
economic
what's there
improvement.
now?
What's there now are vacant properties, with the exception of a former, I believe, a former office building that was here. The remnants of the parking lot is still remaining on that property. On lot 76 is entirely vacant.
Just out of curiosity, is it generally practice to earmark vacant lots as in need of redevelopment if it's never been developed in the first place?
It depends. What it has to depend on is whether or not there was ever any effort to try to develop those properties. And in fact, there was. Back in 2000, there was a preliminary approval. It's been sitting for over 13 years without being developed. So it's a way of looking at ways to encourage it economically to be redeveloped in the manner that the township would see fit.
And all we're doing in this resolution is authorizing the planning board
That's correct.
to investigate.
That's it.
We have a second.
Well, I have a motion and a second right now to table, unless you want.
No, I'm going to keep the motion.
Yeah, I think that, again, I think this is being done, at least in contemplation, again, for commercial and for a substantial corporate tenant for the town. If you want to send a message,
Ed, where's there's a lake over there, because
You risk that.
I don't have my glasses.
That's okay. I can motion to it.
I know Hill Road, I know Cherry Hill Road.
Right after Cherry Hill Road, you're gonna come past that.
Is that where,
big
is there
house.
like,
Just so you can see this.
there was a pond over there?
Here is the pond. The pond is at the bottom of lot 44, or to the south of lot 44.
Okay, it was my understanding, it's purely rumor, but I had heard rumors that was under consideration for being, a developer was proposing that be rezoned residential.
That is not something I've heard.
I think there was some discussion about that, which I had heard in the development community. I can tell you that that is not what is contemplated here, that any redevelopment plan, that would be coming before the council as a result of an area in need of redevelopment declaration, provided that occurs, obviously would have to be approved by the council. But there clearly was some discussion out on the street about the possibility of residential on this property, but that is no longer the contemplation. The contemplation here is purely a commercial development with a very large and substantial tenant that I think the township would want to try to encourage to come
Who
to
owns the
Parsippany.
property? Is
At
it
this
the
time, I have to
township?
go forward with the motion and the second, so
Wait, can I-
roll call the table.
Mr. Karifi.
Even he can.
No, you can always pull your motion.
Yeah.
I'll
You know
pull
what,
my
I'm
second.
going to withdraw my motion. And direct the clerk to,
Okay.
to reprint the resolution, and everybody in the audience has the wrong resolution also.
Well, the resolution will be revised to simply delete Edwards Road in the header, and we should also add, I'm sorry, Mr. Snykes, the additional lot.
Yes, it's block 136.01, lot 76.
Okay, so lot 76 would be added, and that is the lot, the small lot that Mr. Snykes pointed out on the exhibit that would simply provide a more logical boundary to the redevelopment area. Is that a correct way to characterize it, Mr. Snykes?
Yes, that would be correct.
Okay.
Ed, can I ask you a question?
Certainly.
Who's the owner of the property? Is it the same for both, or is it the township?
It's the same for all three.
Okay, so who's the owner?
It's SJP Properties.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna make a motion that we make an amendment, we add lot 76, and we remove Edwards Road from the resolution.
Second that.
Second by Mr. Creepy, roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Okay, yes, and now we're gonna,
Approve it as amended.
yep, now we'll take a roll call on the resolution.
Need a motion
As
and
amended.
second to approve it.
We did already.
We did.
We did already.
Oh, no.
I'll
You did a
second
motion
it.
to
All right,
amend.
motion by Mr. Nelson, second by Mr.
This is
Karifi,
to-
roll call.
Just to approve the amended resolution.
Yes.
To approve the amended.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, or 2013-233, Mr. Farrar.
Resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, confirming the appointment and awarding a contract for professional architectural service to CTS Group Architecture Planning, PA.
Mr. Council President, I'd like to make a motion to table this.
Well, you're a table happy guy today, man.
Motion to table by Mr. Nelson.
That's a good, no.
I think it was already a motion to approve.
Okay. All right, first of all, we got a motion by Mr. Farrar to
Oh, this is-
approve.
Is there a second?
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. DiPiero. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
No.
Mr. DePiero.
We're voting to,
This is to
For the
approve.
noes.
to approve it.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Before I vote, I don't want to call him up here. How's the credit card situation coming along?
The credit cards will be available in the beginning of the 2014 golf season.
Okay. Okay. No.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes. Or 2013-234, Mr. Karifi.
Resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills awarding contract to Bear Brothers Corporation for the purchase of one new unused four-wheel drive crew cab pickup truck with 2 light towers for the Rescue and Recovery Squad for a total bid price of $78,600.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Karifi, second by Mr. DiPiero. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, or 2013-235, Mr. Nelson.
Resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills authorizing change order number 1 for roof replacement at the municipal building.
Motion by Mr. Nelson, second by Mr. Karifi. Roll call.
Mr.
Didn't we
Karifi.
just do that?
Yes.
Can I ask that?
Time out. Yeah, I was just about to.
Didn't we just do the roof? Well, that's not, roof was up there not even a year ago.
Not even a year ago, not even 4 months ago.
This is for a decrease in the final payment.
It's for a decrease in the overall
right.
contract. Let me just get my notes.
Oh, so this change order
It's
is,
a decrease in the
get money
contract
back.
price.
Decrease.
Yes,
okay, all right, thank you.
I
yes.
have a copy of the change order if you need it.
All right, okay.
So,
Okay.
sorry, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, or 2013-236, Mr. DiPiero.
Resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills authorizing the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills schedule of Township Council meetings for 2014.
Second.
Motion by Mr. DiPiero, second by Mr. Farrar. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, or 2013-237, Mr. Farrar.
Resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills allocating additional money from the Municipal Affordable Housing Trust Fund to Special Homes of New Jersey Incorporated and requesting COA's review and approval of the Third Amendment to the Municipal Affordable Housing Trust Fund spending plan.
Motion by Mr. Farrar,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPiero. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, or 2013-238, Mr. Karifi.
Resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills authorizing the release of the performance bond for 7-Eleven Incorporated.
Is everything in order, I guess? Yeah, okay. Second.
Motion by Mr. Karifi, second by Mr. Farrar. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, or 2013-240, Mr. DiPiero.
Resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills authorizing 2013 budget appropriation transfer 2.
Motion by Mr. DiPiero,
Second.
second by Mr. Farrar. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, or 2013-241, Mr. Farrar.
Resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills providing the insertion of any special items of revenue in the budget of any county of municipalities pursuant to NJSA 40A:487, Chapter 189, PL 1948, No Net Loss Group, PF 13-017.
Motion by Mr. Farrar,
Second.
second by Mr. Karifi. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, or 2013-242, Mr. Karifi.
Resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills providing for the insertion of any special item of revenue in the budget of any county or municipality pursuant to NJSA 40A:4-87, Chapter 159, PL 1948, 2013 Body Armor Grant.
Motion by Mr. Karifi.
Second.
Second by Mr. DiPiero. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, or 2013-243, Mr. Nelson.
Resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills providing for the insertion of any special item of revenue in the budget of any county or municipality pursuant to NJSA 40A:4-87, Chapter 159, PL 1948, HAO Charitable Fund Grant.
Motion by Mr. Nelson,
Second.
second by Mr. Karifi. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, or 2013-244, Mr. DiPiero.
Resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills providing for the insertion of any special item of revenue in the budget of any county or municipality pursuant to NJSA 40A:4-87, Chapter 159, Public Law 1948, Juvenile Account Leadership Program Grant.
Motion by Mr. DiPiero,
Second.
second by Mr. Farrar. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, or 2013-245, Mr. Farrar.
Resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills request an approval of the Director of the Division of Local Government Services to establish a dedication by the writer for accumulated absences to be included in 2013 and subsequent budgets.
Motion by Mr. Farrar,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPiero. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, or 2013-246,
Hold
Mr.
on.
Karifi.
Mr. Council President, could you
Yes.
I'd just like to ask the Township CEO, CFO, what this actually means?
Which one?
246.
Okay.
Okay, it's actually one of the parts of the best practice checklist. Part of the budget and also the financial statements are our accumulated absences that we will pay out upon retirement for our employees. This is establishing a trust fund where I can start doing some of the earmarking of funds for the
No, this
future.
is for the snow removal.
246, not
Oh,
246.
246? Okay, sorry about that. Snow removal? Same thing. What that will do is it allows you to set up a snow removal trust fund. What that will allow is to earmark funds for the future in case there are storms that are outside of what we've budgeted for. And one of the interesting items, and it's on the legislative agenda for 2014, is they're expanding the use to be called an emergency trust fund. So if there is a state of emergency that the governor calls, we will be able to do the financing out of this trust fund.
Out of the snow removal trust fund.
Yes. That is the name that it's currently called.
All right.
Mr. Creepy?
Resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills requesting approval of the Director of the Division of Local Government Services to establish dedication by rider for snow removal to be included in the 2013 and subsequent budgets.
Motion by Mr. Creepy,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPiero. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, or 2013-247, Mr. Nelson.
Resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills authorizing the cancellation of 2012 tax overpayments.
Motion by Mr. Nelson, second by Mr. Creepy. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, or 2013-248, Mr. DiPiero.
Resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills awarding contract for health benefit insurance services to insurance design administrators.
Motion by Mr. DiPiero.
I'd like to make a motion to table this.
We have a motion to table by Mr. Creepy.
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Nelson.
I think it was,
There's already a motion on the table.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to go forward by Mr. DiPiero. Do I hear a second?
Okay, I'll make a motion to table this
Well, no, hold on.
next meeting.
Madam Clerk, the Councilman DiPiero just read the motion, and it wasn't seconded.
Correct. Now you can go forward with your other.
Well, it doesn't pass. It's gone right there. Didn't receive a second.
Right.
Motion fails.
There was no
Okay,
second.
motion fails. Or 2013-249, Mr. Farrar.
Mr. Council President, this is, I'd like to table this.
We have a motion to table 2013-249.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Karifi. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
No.
Mr. Ferrara.
No.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
I'm going to say table it because we just, our 2013-248 was,
We're gonna
we're going to have to bring them both up.
Oh, you guys.
There you go.
Or 2013-250, Mr. Karifi.
Resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills authorizing the cancellation of unexpended funds for the Golf and Recreation Utility Fund.
Motion by Mr. Karifi.
Second.
Second by Mr. DiPiero. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, or 2013-251, Mr. Nelson.
Resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills urging the preservation of Greystone's historic Kirkbride building.
Motion by Mr. Nelson.
Second.
Second by Mr. Farrar.
Does
Roll
this, question, does this mention that the bill, the Senate bill?
Urges them to reconsider it or amend it.
Well, I don't want us to pass this. Well, I'm not supporting this bill if it's going to kill all options at Greystone.
No, it's not killing any options. It's urging,
Preservation.
it's urging preservation.
So it's not supporting the Senate bill that we were talking
It
about.
does,
before.
it's asking them to amend it, to include preservation of the Kirkbride building. I think it's in the packet.
Either you support the Senate bill or you don't support the Senate bill. That's,
So what does that say? Can we get a clarification?
well, this resolution is saying we're going to ask them to amend the Senate bill.
Counselor?
Just to clarify, the Senators Bucco and Panaccio's bill down in Trenton calls for the property to be deeded over to Morris County and Morris County only for historic preservation, farmland, basically, the cookie cutter open space trust fund
Yeah.
wording.
And for no other use.
For no other use.
No commercial use whatsoever.
It's the county. It's for historic farmland, open space, for open space. The only thing that our resolution is doing is asking the senators and the Assembly and the Senate to consider and urge them to do everything in their powers to preserve the actual Kirkbride building.
John, do you have a clarification? What does this mean? Or no? So let's table it.
I'm afraid, Jonathan, I'm afraid what this is going to do is they're going to read this quickly and think that you're supporting their bill.
No. No, it's the exact opposite, Councilman.
No?
It's the exact opposite.
All right, so then what this bill, what we're asking for is going to ask them to preserve Greystone, but
I'm with you, Mr. DePiero.
But they're going to preserve Greystone. They're going to turn it over and say you can't have any commercial use.
We're asking them either to withdraw the bill or amend it to include a provision that would designate the Kirkbride building as a historic structure, or to do everything in their power to preserve the building itself.
All right, okay. I'll vote yes then.
Yeah, we all do.
It's buried under here someplace.
We have so much here.
All right, so what are we going to do with this?
I'll vote yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, sorry.
DePiero voted yes. Karifi, yeah, I guess.
I voted yes.
You
Mr.
did?
Karifi.
Yes.
Karifi voted already.
Motion and second. Mr. Karifi.
Yeah,
All right,
let's
I'll
start
vote
over.
yes.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes. Applications are 2013-352, Mr. DiPiero.
250.
252.
/ 2014 renewal of licenses, amusement games, entertainment, taxi limo, tourist accommodations, truck terminal 2.
Motion by Mr. DiPiero,
Second.
second by Mr. Creepy. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Ferrara. Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, or 2013-253, Mr. Farrar.
Resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills approving a new limousine license for American Fast Limousine and Taxi, LLC.
Motion by Mr. Farrar.
Second.
Second by Mr. Creepy. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, or 2013-254, Mr. Creepy.
Resolution of the Township Council, Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, approving and authorizing an inactive retail liquor license renewal for the licensing term July 1st, 2013 through June 30th, 2014 for Llewellyn Tavern LLC.
I am going to go on the record that I'm going to recuse myself from this vote.
Motion by Mr. Creepy.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Second.
Second.
Second by Mr. DiPiero. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Farrar.
I'm recusing myself.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, or 2013-255, Mr. Nelson.
Mr. Farrar, I wouldn't tell you what to do, but I think you should recuse yourself from this.
Thank you, Councilman.
Resolution
I
213
appreciate that.
Resolution 2013-255, resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills authorizing a person-to-person transfer of plenary retail distribution license for wine and 4A Wines and Liquors LLC.
Motion by Mr. Nelson.
Second.
Second by Mr. DiPiero. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
I recuse myself, thank you.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, before we adjourn, I'd like to wish everyone a happy holiday, and I'd like to turn the floor over to Mr. Farrar first. We'll have time.
I just wanted to thank our outgoing members, Vinny and and Jonathan for their service to the township.
Yes.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Councilman.
I would like to echo that.
Thank you, Councilman. I just wanted to take a minute to say thank you for the opportunity and the privilege of service as a councilman for the past 3 years. I also would like to extend my best wishes for a happy holiday season and a happy new year to the citizens of Parsippany. And I want to thank my colleagues on the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Vinny just stole my thunder. I like to do the same. It's been a very rewarding year plus up on the council. Wish everybody a good holiday, and it's going to be enjoyable watching council meetings from the audience next year. Thanks.
Thank you.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Well, I'm going to say Merry Christmas and Happy and Healthy New Year.
Yep. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Farrar,
Second.
second by Mr. Nelson. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes. Good night, all.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy New Year. That's all my garbage. I'll take it. I go to keep everything.
Vinny?
I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving.
Good night.
This is garbage. I keep